So here we are in Miami. We are here, Basebin TV. We are going to be doing a special edition on the road, doing a podcast with a guest, special guest. Right now we're going to enjoy the sights and sounds of Miami. Yeah, okay. We'll see you soon. Hey, welcome to Studio Basebin. My name is Albert Chambers.
I'm Kayla Winter.
I'm Emma Bronson.
And you're watching Basebin TV.
So, Albert and I were recently in Miami.
Yeah. So hot.
So hot, so humid, like illegally humid. Yeah. And we ended up going to this like resto cafe bar called Mangoes. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that either of us were prepared for what like the night was to hold. I really thought like we saw the live band setting up and I was like, okay, like it's going to be like maybe like a singer and like a piano or something. And it was a full production, like full production.
So I had a drummer, percussion player, keyboard player that basically was had sequences playing the bass lines. Mm-hmm. And singers, right?
Three singers. Oh. And then
3 lead singers.
Yeah, they all did like either like whoever wasn't singing lead did backup.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they all took turns doing lead.
Right. 1 male, 2 female singers, lead singers.
And then I swear every single person that worked in that place danced.
Yeah. So they had the bartenders and barmaids actually taking turns doing choreographed routines.
Numbers. Like prepared. Yeah.
Prepared. Oh, no. This was a full out production. Every song was like worked out, choreographed with dancers. They even had they had this, the band was basically on the floor with the rest of the patrons. But then they had a stage where the singers would go up and actually sing and some of the dancers would go up there and perform. And they literally had a guy that was hired just to help the singers down because they were all in their high heels and, and there was literally somebody hired just to help them down the stairs during this whole routine. So this, at one point I was like, okay, at one point the set's going to end.
We went out at what time? 7?
Yeah.
7 o'clock?
They'd started playing at probably like 9 o'clock or something like that. And they just didn't stop. It was probably like 10:30 before they took maybe a 15-minute break or something like that.
We left at midnight and they
kept on going. They were still going.
How big was the space?
The space was, it was a decent size. There was probably like, you could probably fit like maybe 600 people in the whole space because of dancers and tables and chairs and things like that. But come again, this was a restaurant. Let me remind you, this was a restaurant and
on a Wednesday night.
Wow.
Thank you. So for my first question to Kayla was, I looked over and I said, "This is a Wednesday night."
Yeah.
Can you imagine? And they had like routines like cabaret, like feathers and.
It was Vegas.
It was Vegas on a Wednesday night in this little restaurant. It was mind-blowing. So my question is there room for a place like that?
Yeah.
Is there a budget for a place like that in Montreal?
Or even
just
like
pure entertainment.
you're going out like a lot. I see you going out a lot. You're playing some shows. Well,
You're not seeing too many clubs like this, right?
No, not at all. But I do think there's like a very high concentration of incredible shows in the city, and you can go out pretty much anywhere and maybe not be blown away with the whole production and a choreographed, dance party, but
Right.
like, it sounds like a flash mob. Like
I think the only time that you do see bands like that, because those bands do exist, but they're all corporate bands, and they all are hired for corporate events.
Right.
So the BMW is doing their Christmas party. It's like, or you know what I mean? It's like these are all huge corporate bands that don't. There's not a venue where they have dancers, the full band, and if they do, it's a huge venue like the Casino.
Yeah.
But this was just another night in South Beach.
And I remember wondering, I was like, I don't remember, like in my time when I was going out a lot more, there being anything like that. I do remember there being a lot of metal shows, like every single weekend, and everyone knew each other, and
Sure.
it was back to back to back to back to back.
Sure.
But I don't remember anything like this, and I'm just like, I'm seeing you like more out on the town than I am. I'm wondering, what is the scene like now? Is it comparative to that? Is it its own thing?
Tell us, Emma.
I don't know
What's it
about-
like out there in the world?
Listen, the drag shows in the village are freaking amazing.
At the meadow?
Yeah, they're so impressive actually.
Okay.
The if we're talking about like big productions
Right.
and dancing and singing and
Right.
whatnot and costumes. But I grew up in the Myland, and there was such a high concentration of folk music. I've seen Patrick Watson perform
Sure.
so many times just in the park, just
In the
hanging-
park?
Yeah, I've
sure.
seen, Martha and Rufus Wainwright a lot, and Lassa de Sela was a huge one for me when I was younger. So just that in itself, that is so rich for like in culture for me to have grown up in. So I don't know if you're, getting Vegas level quality shows. I don't know if that matters. I think the concentration of good music in the city is amazing. And even like Martha Wainwright, she has that bar now, Ursa's, where she's having shows all the time.
Oh, they have shows at Ursa's?
Yeah,
there?
yeah. People perform there. But yeah, growing up and seeing Patrick Watson performing and the McGarrigle sisters and all these really, really established names in music, and just being very, very moved. And those are people that are able to hold a crowd by themselves.
How do you feel
You
like
know?
that's influencing the local scene? Because like I felt like there was a point where I ended up moving to Toronto, and when I came back, I found that the music scene had changed a lot. So like I said, I was in like the metal and rock scene. I found that there weren't as many shows going on. A lot of the venues that I used to like to go to had closed down. What is the local scene like out in the world?
Like, I mean, didn't you just go to Deb Cafe and you saw, was it David Usher that you saw at Deb Cafe?
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing actually what we have access
I was
to.
doing the show with him. I was doing
okay.
sound actually. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, they opened up the venue to like any type of artist that wants to come in and do anything. And
Yeah.
but I'm talking about like there are tons of places that will allow things like that because a lot of times they're solo artists, so you don't have to pay that much. This is like I was just thinking about the budget.
Yeah.
We were just looking at it and we were going, oh my God, they had costumes for the barmaids
Yep.
that were dancing, and they were obviously custom made costumes because they were all the same material, but yet they all had a different cut that was made to like customize for each of their personalities type of thing. So you're thinking, okay, this is a restaurant. It's packed. It's not super packed. It's not overly packed. But
Comfortable.
all I'm thinking is that how much are they paying these artists to perform on a Wednesday night, all night, because we left and they were still going.
And bartend. And wait tables.
And bartend and wait tables.
I went and I searched the singers that we had seen, the
Right.
ones with the lead singers. And they, like on TikTok, on Instagram, they have a considerable following.
Right.
So it seems like not only, do they have like a solid gig, here at this club, but it seems like maybe even like a lot of people are coming specifically to see them
Oh, yeah,
or
that
in
could be
hopes
too.
of seeing them in
Yeah.
South Beach. I wish that we had a place like that. in Montreal, because I was thinking to myself, like, maybe I wouldn't wear like the spandex, but like if we had a place like that in Montreal, I'd be like, that'd be so much fun to do all these performances. And like everyone seemed to get along so well.
Did it seem like a residency that was happening? Like,
oh, they definitely
right?
have been there. Yeah.
Yeah,
several times. Yeah. It definitely seemed like they were there like quite often, but that just made me more curious to find out what happens on a Friday and a Saturday night there.
Like, if
Because
this is
it's-
big, what's the weekend?
Yeah. What's the weekend like? It's very curious. Anyways, it's very interesting to see, like, obviously there's the influence of like having the beach there and the weather, and you know it's just hot and sizzly, and yes, that creates that dynamic to create a performance like that. It's very tropical, you know. It was probably a good 80%, 90% Cuban band. I'm just wondering, like in Montreal, we have so many great dancers, musicians, but a lot of the venues don't see the value. And that is one thing that is different in the States that I realized going there more often in the last little while, is that the venues really respect musicians and believe that they should be compensated properly for their work and when they come into work. And if they are compensated, they always even include a tip jar. Wherever anybody plays, there's always a tip jar included, and the owner has no problem with that and doesn't take a cut of their tip jar, but also pays them pretty well also for their work. So I think that here, for some reason, there's this sort of a stigma that's attached to musicians of like they're just having fun. And you should be happy with having a meal and some beer that we're paying you with, $200, and be on your way. And where they don't understand that the work that goes into putting together a show, and if you don't have this spectacular show, well, it's because they're not compensated properly. So they can't. They need time for rehearsals. They need time to, for instruments. They need time to like set up, even if they want to add lights, to their shows. And have their own sound man, own light man. All of these things add to the production value, but nobody seems to want to pay for it because they don't understand how that can actually bring in new clients and patrons for the entertainment. People are going to want to come for the entertainment.
We said we go back to Miami, we have to go back there.
Yeah.
On a different night to see.
On a different night,
Is
yeah.
it a different set? Is it a different,
or is it an every night show?
Right.
I mean, there are plenty of places that are similar to Montreal where there's like solo musicians, right? And it's smart for the owner of the restaurant or the venue to hire somebody that's alone as opposed to hiring this full extravagant, act. There is something to look at where Montreal should tap into. Understanding that there's value in having like a full band and a full act, creating something where people can go out and be entertained while they're eating their meal. And they have a few places like that. They have Le Balcon. They have House of Jazz. So they have Le Balcon. They have the House of Jazz for things like that. But apart from those two places, I really can't think of any other place, and that's two places where they have entertainment while you eat.
Albert, are you thinking about the next business venture?
Lord, no. This podcast is killing me.
It's a full-time job.
It's a full-time job. No, I for anybody out there that wants to start a restaurant where they have entertainment.
Sorry,
Trust me.
Were the servers and bartenders that were participating in the act real servers and bartenders? So this isn't people necessarily that they've brought from outside. Like this is like a collaboration.
This is a collaboration. They just happen to be multi-talented.
Right.
It's sort of like almost people that you hire that work at a vacation resort that you see them dancing, and this is exactly what happens. Is you see them at the show in the evening, and the next day you see them like helping out, with the sailboats or the windsurfing. And you're like, hey, weren't you dancing, yesterday? And it's like, yeah, but we do everything here. And that's exactly the vibe. It didn't really surprise me in that context, but here in Montreal, yeah, I mean, there's very few. There have been like sort of bars that tried to imitate Coyote Ugly, and the barmaids would get up on this on the bar and dance, but nothing's choreographed. Nothing's they don't go all out. Like everything was choreographed on these situations. They had two male dancers that were bartenders that came up on stage, and all the women lost their minds because everything was choreographed. And it wasn't like this complicated choreography, but nonetheless, it was worked out. You saw that they worked on something and they practiced it and they put it out, and it was entertaining and it was great to watch. And I think we just need more of that.
So if anyone wants to start a bass bin bar or bass bin goes live, hit him up. You got two singers here. You got two singers and a show producer.
Are you going to get up on stage and start dancing?
Hell yeah.
Okay, there you go. Okay. So you've heard it here first. Okay, so there it is. We've said everything that we've had to say on Couch Sessions. If you want to see more of this type of content, just tune into Bassbin TV, and we will have our Couch Sessions once every so often. Just keep on watching and you'll see the show. See ya.
On Bassbin TV.